Hey everyone. How's everyone doing? That's good to hear. How's everyone doing over here in Facebook? Oh, it's so dark on Facebook. Hey Laura. How you doing? Hey Matt. I'm good. How are you? My kitchen is a bit messy behind me. I apologize for that. Trying to hide the mess. I just had breakfast. You look very pretty. Thank you, Laura. Miara. Happy to have you here. I hope that I pronounce your name right. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I'm doing good. How's everyone doing? How's everyone dealing with lockdown, if you're still in lockdown? Or, yeah, let me know where you're watching this from and what's the lockdown situation in your city or country. If you're in lockdown, if lockdowns are over for you, like what's the whole COVID-19 situation? Nicoletta from Romania. Cool. Thanks for joining me, Nicoletta. Laura's doing cubes again. Awesome to hear. I've got people from Sydney, Vancouver. Vancouver cubes are happening soon. That's awesome. Rhode Island. Went to the beach today. I'm jealous. I wish I could go to the beach. It's very cold here anyway. I don't want to go to the beach. UK. California. Opening cities slowly, one stage at a time. That's cool. Northampton, just tuning in now. Had our first cube since this pandemic. Day before yesterday, and it went well. We're doing another in 2 weeks. Awesome to hear, Mia. Or Maya. How do I pronounce your name? I know they're both correct, but California. Still in strict quarantine. Where are you watching from, Tara? Which area are you in? Buenos Aires. Oh, what did I do? Okay. Mexico. So what's the lockdown situation in Mexico? Calgary. All right, cool. Well, I'm just curious to know what the lockdown situation is in every country that we have a chapter in, because I do want to make an announcement about the cubes. So I'm just going to give it another couple of minutes and then I'll make the announcement. And then we'll get into the workshop, obviously. So I heard that Montreal, you guys are doing cubes. Is that right, Felix? That looks good what you're drinking. It's coffee. I've been getting into drinking coffee. I drink decaf, but yeah, I really enjoy making coffee now. This is a latte macchiato, if you're interested. My 8-year-old vegan son going on his first cube on August 8th in Calgary. Any advice? I don't have any advice necessarily. Anyone's allowed to join the cube regardless of how old they are, so I would imagine an 8-year-old could maybe hold a sign because the TVs might be too heavy for them, or the laptops even. So maybe they can just stand in the cube, hold a sign, and then after attending the cube for some time, if they feel confident, then they can obviously start doing outreach as well. But I don't have any particular advice to give you, Leanne. New Zealand has no cases. Does that mean your lockdown is over? Like, are you guys not in lockdown anymore? Never been to a live video like this before. What is it? What is it like? I'll explain that now. Mia. Okay, so I was saying it right. Mia. Yeah, that's what I thought. So Maya spelled with a Y. Cool. So I said it right. Thanks, Leanne. Thank you for your message, for your comment. All right, so I'll just quickly explain what we're doing here today, and then I'll make the announcement about the cubes. So let me fix this. Someone asked who I am just before, so I'll just introduce myself quickly. My name is Asal. I'm the co-founder and director of Anonymous for the Voiceless, or AV, the page that you're on right now. And our work is animal rights. We do street activism. That's what we focus on. We have demonstrations called Cube of Truth that are held at a public spot, and we show people footage from what happens to the animals, mainly in meat, dairy and egg industries, and we have conversations with the public about veganism. And that's basically what we do as an organization. And this live stream is an interactive workshop. So for the next hour or so, we're going to be doing a workshop together, and this is going to be helping you with your outreach, with having conversations with non-vegans, so you can handle objections from non-vegans. So I will be bringing up these objections that usually non-vegans throw at us, and then we're going to explore the responses together. That's basically how this works. And then at the end, I will be taking questions as well. So if we have any non-vegans that are watching this, send your questions through the question button on Instagram. So if you have a reason why you're not vegan yet, just let me know what that is, and we can respond to that together. If you're already vegan or you're an activist and you have any question about activism or AV, you can send your questions through as well. And at the end of the live stream, I'll take some questions. Thank you, Nicoletta. I really appreciate it. No lockdown. Okay, so no lockdown in New Zealand, you said? Yeah, cool. It's all good. If you haven't done one of these before, they always stay on Facebook and Instagram because they are saved. So you can go and watch back the previous ones that we have done. So it's all good. All right, so I've got an announcement to make, and then we can start with the workshop. So I was just asking everyone what the situation is like in their cities with the lockdown, because as of recently it became mandatory in many areas, many countries, many cities around the world to wear a mask. It became mandatory for I guess, most people or for everyone, unless they have an exemption. So the announcement I would like to make is that even though in many places like Australia, and I've heard in the US is the same, the government has said that it's mandated and it's mandatory for everyone now to wear a mask when they're in a public space or when they go shopping in a supermarket, etc. When you go into a supermarket, it's obviously a private property, so you have to go by their rules. However, in a public space, which is where we hold our cubes, so we always have our cubes on a street in a public spot. We are not allowed to go into a mall or anything, so it's always a public area that we use for our cubes. So during this time, even if your government has said that everyone is supposed to wear a mask, if an individual decides and chooses not to wear a mask for any reason, our organizers do not have the right to turn them away from the cube. So that is my announcement. So if you're an organizer and you have a volunteer showing up to your cube and they say, I don't want to wear a mask, or I can't wear a mask because it gives me anxiety, or I have a health issue, or whatever it is, you don't have the right to ask that individual to leave the event. And the reason for that is because even if there is a fine, for example, here in Australia, the police is supposed to give you a fine if they find it justified for not wearing a mask, and the fine is $200. Now, if I got stopped by the police and I was asked why I'm not wearing a mask, and I gave them the reasoning, and they either are convinced or they're not. If they choose to give me a fine, that fine is mine to pay, right? So when it comes to the cube, if I showed up at a cube and I don't want to wear a mask, if the police then shows up, they are going to fine me as an individual. So it doesn't reflect on the rest of volunteers, on the organizers, or AV. And that's why I'm asking all of our organizers to not turn people away if somebody refuses to wear a mask. Now, I do encourage that you still do social distancing, because if an individual, an activist, doesn't want to or cannot wear the mask for the time that they're at a cube, if the other people are wearing a mask and they're doing social distancing, obviously there is a lower risk if there is a virus, if somebody is sick. And so I'm not saying just like don't wear a mask and just hang out and give hugs and kisses and things like that. So be responsible, do the social distancing, and respect other people's choice to do all of those things. But as an individual, you don't have to wear a mask to show up at a cube. If the police shows up, or a government body shows up and they take issue with it, it's that person's responsibility. So the organizer doesn't need to deal with it, AV doesn't need to deal with it, and that's it. So if you're an organizer, you don't have the right to turn people away from the cube. If you're a volunteer and you have experienced this, please let us know. Get in contact with us, send us a message, and we will deal with that organizer. Now, let me know if you have any questions about this announcement, and then we'll start with the workshop. We held our 4th post-lockdown cube on Saturday. Awesome to hear, Felix. I hope that went well. if you want to know more about AV, I quickly just explain what we do. So I recommend that you watch this live stream back. Alright, so for anyone that doesn't feel safe to attend the cubes because some activists may not want to or cannot wear a mask, then that's completely within your right to do that. Like I said, people that are concerned, they can wear a mask and they can do social distancing. And when it comes to doing outreach, activists can ask the bystander if they want to wear a mask or not, if they're not already wearing one. So social distancing is already happening, and if one person is wearing a mask, the other person doesn't want to or they can't, then it is what it is. But to turn people away from the cube because they may not be able to wear a mask or they choose not to wear a mask, we do not support that and we don't stand by that. Mia, like I said, I know that they are saying that it's mandatory because it's the same here in Australia. But then in other states, they are holding cubes and there is no wearing masks. And like I said, it's about that individual willing to take that risk or not. It's not our place to make it mandatory or not. It is a public space, and if people want to go by the current law or not, that's totally up to them. If as an organizer you don't feel comfortable with this and you don't want to hold cubes for these times, that's completely understandable. This is something that we should probably discuss more in our organizers live stream, because obviously just talking about organizers' roles is kind of irrelevant to the rest of people that are watching this. So we can discuss that a bit more, or if you guys have any particular points you want to discuss with myself, Paul, or your regional organizer, you can just send us a message in your chat. I don't necessarily want to just dedicate this live stream to talking about this. I just wanted to announce it because we've had some feedback given to us from people that were attending the Cube, and this is our official stance on this new thing. So at the moment, this is how we feel, and I needed to announce it, obviously, because this is all new to us and nobody knows how to deal with it. So again, if volunteers have had similar experiences, feel free to reach out to us somehow. Let us know. If you're an organizer and you take issue with it, just reach out and we can discuss it. Yeah, Laura, that's the thing. Like, I understand if you don't feel comfortable talking to people without a mask. That's completely understandable. So you can wear your mask. But if I showed up to your cube as a volunteer and I said, well, I do want to do activism, but I can't wear the mask, then that shouldn't really affect you, because you are wearing your mask when you're talking to your volunteers or you're doing outreach. So you're doing your part, you're doing what makes you feel comfortable. And if that person is willing to take that risk to get a fine or whatever it might be, then let them deal with it. All right, so moving on from this, let's start the workshop. We don't speak Spanish, so we won't be able to do a Q&A in Spanish. This page is only in English. All right, let's start with Mia, you, I don't do that, I won't do that again. Should I make an announcement in my group about this? I'm not sure what you mean. About what exactly? So you turn someone away. Maybe if you know who they are, maybe you can just reach out to them so that they don't think they're never welcome at the cube. Maybe just reach out to that person, but I don't think it's necessary to make a post in your group, if that's what you mean. All right, let's start with the workshop. So how do you respond to someone that says that their concern with going vegan is that they're going to have some deficiencies in like vitamins and minerals and things like that? How do you respond to that question? I'm just going to use the comments that are coming from our non-vegan followers. So the question is someone that says, I want to be vegan, but I'm worried that I'm going to be deficient in minerals and vitamins. Oh, I see, Mia. Well, that's a difficult situation. I don't know what to suggest. If that person's blocked you, then it is what it is. Don't worry about it, I guess. So I'm assuming the issue wasn't just the mask, because you're saying you got into another debate. And that's the problem. I guess this is something for our organizers live stream to discuss, not to get into these conversations that are irrelevant to the cube, vaccines, etc. If it's going to end up you blocking them or them blocking you or you banning them from your cube, if it's going to get disrespectful, I mean, what's the point of getting into that kind of conversation anyway? But in terms of like letting that person know that they are allowed to attend the cube, if you know someone who knows them and you can pass on the message that way, I don't think it's necessary for you to make a post. So. Yeah, Paula, I just had to announce this because I know that cubes are happening already, and this is something that the public needs to know. But we can definitely bring this up and we can discuss it in our upcoming live stream next month. And like I said, if any of you organizers or regional organizers feel uncomfortable or have any concerns, just reach out to me and Paul immediately, and we'll discuss it in our support chats. The only two things you cannot get from plants are B12 and D, so we take supplements. Okay, so the question was, how do you respond to someone that says, I'm worried that I will become deficient, so that's why I don't want to go vegan? Now, you said B12 and D. Vitamin D is actually not something that only vegans need to take. Vitamin D is something that a lot of non-vegans are also deficient in, and especially for places like here in Australia, we don't get a lot of sun. So regardless of what you eat, the majority of the public, especially during winter, are low in vitamin D. So that is not the case. And B12 can stay in your body for up to 7 years. So again, many vegans don't take B12 for years after going vegan. Now, the question was, when someone's worried to go vegan because they're going to become deficient, your response, okay, I'm just going to read the rest of the responses first. In any diet, you can be deficient in vitamins. In every diet, you need to make sure you're eating right, or you will get sick regardless if you are living on a vegan diet or carnivore. Yeah, I see, Mia. That's fine. I would say just don't worry about it unless you can send the message to him somehow. It just all comes down to what you're eating. If you're eating correctly and do your research, you will be perfectly healthy. B12 in your toothpaste? I've never heard of that one. Yeah, no post is necessary. I've never seen a nutrient deficient vegan patient, but plenty of deficient omnivores. Well, if it's iron they are concerned about, then I will tell them that vegetables that are close to the ground have the most iron. If they feel they are going to be deficient in other ways, I'll suggest doing their research. But if you no longer want to abuse animals, you will find a way to make it happen. Perfect. So if I was going to respond to this argument, I will use that first. I would use your last line first, Laura. And for everyone else that is listening. So I would actually first say, if you choose to stop abusing animals and you're convinced that that's the right thing to do, then you find a way. And then you explain the rest. And then at the end, you bring it back to the animals. If a person carefully plans their diet, that person will not be deficient in nutrients, no matter how it goes. Even if a person was deficient by not taking what they should, is it worth an animal dying for? Expose their ignorance by asking them to name the vitamin you can get from animal products that you can't get from plants. I like that one. I like that one. All right, let's see if we have anything here. You can get everything you need eating plant-based foods. Where do you think the animals that you eat get their nutrients from? I like that. Stop making excuses. You can get everything you need by eating. Okay, I just read that, right? Yeah, we are. This live stream is dedicated to the animals. So if you're not interested, you can just leave this live stream. But that's what we're going to talk about. I don't remember at school, like hearing about this stuff, by the way. I don't know what school you go to that they teach you about veganism and speciesism, but that's a good school. Report the trolls. I'm just gonna leave them alone. Like I'm just going to ignore them, and I ask that you do the same. If somebody's being disrespectful like this one, they're being homophobic, then I will ban them. How do I do that? That's it. Okay. I just did. Yeah, I like to ignore the trolls unless they are being disrespectful, like they're being racist, homophobic, etc. and that's when they get blocked. So please just ignore them. If they're here, they must be interested in what we're talking about. Okay, I see a lot of questions coming in, so let's wrap up this question and then we'll move on to the next question. So the question was people that say, I want to be vegan, but I'm worried that I'm going to be deficient in vitamins and minerals, and that's why I don't want to be vegan. I think it was Laura's response that was really good. So you tell them when you are convinced that you don't want to be an animal abuser anymore and you know it's the right thing to stop supporting these industries, you will find a way. So it's about why you need to be vegan rather than how you're going to do it, because once you decide to do something, you will find a way. You've got your phone, you've got internet, you've got a computer, like you can do your own research. You can even talk to a dietitian or a nutritionist. That part you will figure out. So that's what we need to tell people. You just need to be convinced that this is the right thing to do, and then you'll find a way. There was another response that I liked about asking them to name a vitamin or a mineral that you cannot get from plants or you cannot synthesize it. And that means that there is literally nothing in animal flesh that you cannot get from plants or you cannot get from a pharmacy. So when you look at the animals that humans eat, like cows, chickens, pigs, these animals are eating only plants. They don't eat the flesh of other animals. So how are they getting all their nutrients and vitamins? They're getting it from plants. Also, in the meat, dairy, and egg industries, these animals are being injected with things like B12. So how about we just go to the pharmacy, buy these supplements directly instead of injecting the animals and then getting their nutrients through their bodies. We just get it directly, if we need to, we just get it directly from a pharmacy so that nobody has to die. Now, when it comes to taking supplements as a vegan, you need to make sure that you do your bloods first. So test your blood, make sure that you do need to take iron or B12 or vitamin D or whatever it might be. Don't just assume that as soon as you go vegan, you're going to need to take a whole bunch of supplements. Many vegans don't take anything. So do your blood test. If you are low in some kind of nutrient or mineral or vitamins, then you can go and get the supplements. Make sure you look for the vegan version first. B12, vitamin D, all of these things can be found vegan. That means that it doesn't come from an animal. Also, it's not tested on animals. So you want to look for the vegan supplement first. If you live in a place that you have absolutely no access to a vegan supplement, you can't buy it online, and your only option is to go to a pharmacy and get, the pharmaceutical version of it that has been tested on animals, and so that's what you need to do. But do everything you can to avoid that. And that would be my response. Could I please still say I would appreciate it if people wear masks? Yeah, of course. You can say I would appreciate it as an organizer. I would appreciate it if you could. But then I do understand if somebody is claustrophobic or has some kind of mental health issue or a breathing issue. Somebody could have asthma and, the mask makes them feel worse. So, of course, you can say that's your preference as an organizer, but make sure you make it clear that it's not like they're going to be kicked out and they're not welcome if, for whatever reason, they don't have a mask on or they're not covering their face. Yeah, that would be cool if we could have this on TV, right? That'd be really cool. Nicoletta said, I've been vegan all my pregnancy time and me and the baby are very healthy. So if anyone was wondering how they can, be vegan during their pregnancy and raise a vegan baby. I know plenty of people that have done this. So again, you just need to make sure that you eat a good balanced diet. Yeah, usually vitamin D is because of lack of sun, and it's more common during winter. And like I said, it's not just for vegans. With vitamin D, you can actually get like soy milk or orange juice that has vitamin D added to it. Just if you are buying those products, make sure that it is from a vegan source, because sometimes it's animal based. So you need to check with the company. If they have those issues, then how do we expect them to wear an AV mask? I'm not sure what you mean, Stacy. Oh, you mean if somebody is claustrophobic? Well, they don't have to wear an AV mask if they can't. If somebody's going to have a panic attack after wearing the mask, I don't think we have ever enforced that. And also the AV mask has holes in the mouth and the nose. But when you wear these like surgical masks or N95 masks or whatever, it's covering the whole area and you're breathing in the same air. I also noticed from my own experience, they smell really toxic too. But even if somebody was just wearing a bandana or their scarf, it's covering the whole area. Whereas with the AV mask, you've got the nose and the mouth open. So that could be the reason. But if I was running a cube and somebody said, can I not wear the mask because I feel really anxious? I would say, of course, just do outreach and go home. Just like people show up and say, I have a bad back, so I can't stand in the queue for long. Okay, just stand there for 5 minutes and come out. We have always been very flexible with people that have disabilities. Yeah, of course, Matt. If humans are suffering from wearing a mask, we can only imagine what the animals go through. But that doesn't mean we should torture ourselves by putting ourselves in the same situation. That doesn't help the animals or us. I'm not saying that's what you're suggesting, but of course, we can't even imagine what the animals are going through every day. And that's why we do what we do, but we also have to be respecting people's, one, disabilities if they have any, two, their choice. If somebody is willing to risk getting a fine, then who are we to stop them, Because it's a public space. I would understand if it was happening in a private area, but it's on a street, on a public space. Mushrooms have good vitamin D, yes. Our stance is that it's how the bystander feels, not how the activist feels, that matters, which means approaching with a mask on and giving the bystander that option is the right call. Their comfort is what matters. The arbitrator can ask the bystander if it's okay to take it off. Natalie, I think you just joined the live stream, so I actually made an announcement that organizers don't have the right to turn someone away from the queue and a volunteer if they don't wear the mask. So you can watch this back, and we said we're going to discuss it more in our organizers group, because I'm going to post this video in there as well. But I appreciate what you're saying, but we also want to make sure our volunteers are feeling okay. So while I really appreciate what you said, and we do want to make sure that the bystanders are feeling comfortable, you don't want to make your volunteers uncomfortable either. So I guess if I was attending and I didn't have a mask on and I approached a bystander and I started Irishing them, if they felt uncomfortable, sure, I can get someone with a mask. But you want to make sure that both the bystander and your volunteers are feeling good and comfortable. Stacey, I don't think that is a valid point to bring up. I can bring up many things, mental health related, for example, and physically, that would limit you from feeling comfortable to wear a mask. So your mother's experience, of course, is her experience, but that doesn't mean that everyone feels the same way. All right, I'd like to move on from this. Like I said, we can discuss it in the organizers group. Next question. Yes, vitamin C helps with iron absorption, that's right. It's interesting, nobody's sending questions through the question icon anymore. I would appreciate it if you guys do that on Instagram. Oh, okay. So how do you respond to someone when they say, I'm going vegan with the exception of backyard eggs because my grandma has some chickens in their backyard, and what's wrong with taking their eggs? How do you respond to that? They are still viewing animals as resources. So the question was backyard eggs, basically. Stealing from anyone is wrong, period. Short and sweet. You're still exploiting chickens. Sometimes they will eat their eggs to regain lost nutrients. Yes. Backyard eggs are still cruel because you're taking something that doesn't belong to you. Instead, you should feed the eggs back to the hen as a way to you know, guys, when I'm reading super slow, it's because the comments keep moving and I just lost this one. But I guess you meant to say feed it back to them so that they can get the nutrients again. So backyard eggs was the question. Taking the eggs that do not belong to them still promotes the idea that it's okay to exploit. Yes. It's still animal exploitation. Veganism is about not eating or using anything from an animal. Taking their eggs is wrong. They aren't meant for us. The chickens are not specifically laying eggs for our consumption. Not acceptable. What happens to the chickens when they don't lay enough for you anymore? You see them as just a resource, and when they're spent, you have them killed. Beautiful. Most people buy chickens from breeders that are connected to the industry and kill baby male chicks. Yes. The chickens still came from a hatchery where the baby males were ground up alive. Beautiful. Just a comment, and I just want to clarify this. I know I've mentioned it before, but maybe some of you missed it. It's kind of relevant. So I hear this a lot when people are doing outreach and they refer to chickens' eggs as their period. I just saw a comment about that as well, and I just wanted to make a comment about that. So although we've been hearing this for years, it's not actually accurate. Their eggs are actually their ovulation, which is kind of the opposite of your period. So it's not like eating your own period if you feed the eggs to the chickens. It's more like their ovulation, which is for humans as well. You get your period once a month. You also have a few days every month that you ovulate. So your chances of getting pregnant is higher, and that's the equivalent of that for chickens. For them, happens every day though, almost. So I just wanted to correct that. If you're going to use that, because I know sometimes activists say that because it sounds gross to say you're eating chickens' periods, but they don't actually. It's eating their ovulation, if you want to be technically correct. And yes, the reason why you would feed it back to them is because they lose so many nutrients and minerals because they are laying eggs every day. As a woman, anyone who has the experience of getting periods, they can kind of relate to that. So you lose all of that nutrient and the minerals, and that's why you need to make it up again somehow. And a good way to do that would be to just leave the eggs for them, and if they feel like it, they will go back and they will use the egg to gain their nutrients again. Or I've seen a lot of sanctuaries will actually crack the eggs and then feed it back to the chickens. Laura said, I might just point out that you're eating something that is coming out of someone's bum. I like that one. It's their bum and their vagina all in one. So, yes. That's something health related. I think not necessarily health related to say you're eating something out of someone's bum. It's more like pointing out how gross it is. And I mean, of course people know where the eggs come from, so they already know that. So the question was, how do you respond to someone that says, I'm vegan with the exception of eating backyard eggs from my grandma's house or something? So, first of all, if somebody worded it the way I just did, which was I'll go vegan with the exception of, it could be backyard eggs, it could be honey, it could be anything. The first thing you need to point out is you're either vegan or you're not. You can't be vegan with the exception of wearing animal skin, vegan with the exception of eating honey, vegan with the exception of eating eggs from chickens. So make that clear to them. You're either vegan, meaning you don't support any form of animal cruelty as much as practicable, or you're not vegan. Even if you only eat eggs once a month and you do not touch any other animal products, you're still not vegan. Make that clear for them. And then you can talk about everything that you all have said basically. The chickens that people have in their backyards are all rescued. Even if they are rescued, if they weren't actually purchased, they all come from the same breeders. And those breeders are bringing these animals into this world with the pure purpose of using their bodies. And also every time you have a female chicken, that means a male chick had to die, at least one. So by having that chicken in your backyard and using their egg, and or even worse, buying that chicken from a breeder, you're supporting the murder of all those baby chicks that were male. That's one point. And then you're still taking something from someone without their consent. So even if that egg is not going to turn into a baby, that is theirs, it comes out of their body, and you have no right to take it from them. And maybe some of you have seen videos where people take the egg and the chicken will get angry and they will run after them. So obviously you're taking something from them without their consent, without their permission. You have no right to do that. A good thing to say, like you said, would be if you leave it for them, they will probably go back and eat it, or if you feed it back to them because they need to make up for the nutrients that they lose. I had another point and I just forgot it. No exception, that's vegan life. What was I gonna say? So we talked about breeders, we talked about how, oh yeah, the other point is you can ask them, would you still have these chickens in your backyard if they did not lay eggs? Or what are you going to do when they stop laying eggs? Are you still going to have them as a companion animal? Because most people, if they want to have a companion animal, they will have a cat or a dog. They don't have chickens just to look after these animals and give them love. They only have chickens in their backyard so they can take the eggs. So ask them that question. If anyone has anything to add to this question, let's hear that. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next question. All right, I think that's it. So that was for backyard eggs. Now let's take another question. All right, let me know if you have any questions that you struggle with responding to, and we can use that. Okay, how do you respond to someone that says it's just my choice to eat animals and nobody can stop me? Because somebody literally said that. How do you respond to that? And we get that all the time. Okay. Someone said if you use the argument that you are using someone's body without their permission, a person could come back with an animal is not someone. They could say that, but then you could easily debunk that. An animal is not an object. An animal is not an inanimate object like a mobile phone or a laptop or a glass or a table. An animal is someone. These animals they are sentient individuals, first of all. They do have the capacity to feel pain. They suffer. They experience all different emotions like humans. And where did it go? Yeah, so they are sentient individuals, and that makes them someone. They all have individualities. They have their own personalities. So that makes it someone, not something. So yeah, sure, a non-vegan can say that, but that's how you respond to it. Okay, so the question was when someone says it's just my choice, I like to eat animals, you can't stop me. First response is there is not a choice if there is a victim. It's not your choice if it involves taking someone's life. A personal choice is deciding a hairstyle or a music preference. It no longer becomes a personal choice when a victim is involved. You can personally choose to rape and murder people should you do those things just because you can choose to do them. I love that response. Personal choice doesn't have a victim. Would it be just my choice if I wanted to eat a person? You want a choice whether you eat a burger made from an animal flesh or veggies, but the animal has no right to make a choice whether they live or die for someone to eat their flesh. It's a choice for the human, but not a choice for the animals. You can never have a choice or free choice without being aware of how conditioned you are. And stop choosing murder over vegetables. Murder is in your hands. So this is another thing I hear quite a lot, and you guys just said it, a few of you. It's no longer a choice when there's a victim involved. That is not accurate, because a rapist is also making a choice to rape and there is a victim there. But it's not that it's no longer a choice. It's obviously an evil choice to make. It's the wrong choice to make. But just because there's a victim doesn't mean that it's no longer a personal choice. Personal choice means I'm choosing to do something. I could choose to hurt myself. I could choose to harm somebody else. I could choose to, do anything. So I don't think that's the strongest argument, personally. Let me just go live again because I got cut off. Delete this video and go live. So yeah, I don't think it's the strongest argument to say, just charging my laptop, to say it's not a personal choice if there's a victim involved. It's still a choice. However, it's the wrong choice. it's a choice that is selfish and evil. So it is still a choice, but like Matt said, and I really like that, it's a choice for you as a human. You're choosing to be cruel, sure. The animal didn't get to have a say in this though. So they don't have a say, they don't get to choose. You're choosing for them. You're choosing on behalf of somebody else, and you're basically making a choice that is selfish and is just wrong. So let's read the rest. What about the animal's choice? Where is their choice? We give them no choice. We take their lives against their will. How would you like it if roles were reversed? I love that, Laura. That's beautiful. Yeah, most people refuse to see the worth in animals. That's why we're doing what we're doing, to help them make the connection so that they wake up, so that they stop being so ignorant. That's exactly what we're doing. So yeah, if somebody says it's just my choice, I choose to eat animals, I like Laura's response and also Matt's, which is basically, sure, you're making a choice. Your choice has consequences on others. I like saying this more than saying, it's no longer a choice because there's a victim involved. Because even in all those evil acts, when a human is committing a crime on another human, there is also a choice and there's also victims involved. So I like saying you are making a choice to be cruel, and your choice has consequences on other sentient beings like cows, chickens, pigs, etc. So your choice has consequences for others. Where is the choice for the animal? They don't get to have a say in this. And I love what Laura said, because we always want to put it back on that person. We always want to hold that one individual accountable because we're talking to that one person. So you can say, would you like it if the roles were reversed? So if somebody came from another planet, an alien, and chose to just abuse your body, exploit you, rape you, torture you, and then murder you for your flesh, that would be their choice. But you don't get to have a say in that. Would you like that? So that's how I would respond to it. Should we avoid using the words murder, abuse, evil when talking to people who won't accept your definition of these words in order to avoid arguing over semantics? No, Summer, I don't think you should stop telling them the truth just because they don't like hearing it. You don't even need to explain the definition of those words. They can look it up. The word murder is not exclusive to humans. Abuse is also not exclusive, and evil is just, again, like, they can't say it's an inaccurate word to use. It is evil, or it is wrong, it is killing, it is rape. People also try to say, don't say rape because you're not talking about what about those rape victims, those human rape victims? So what? Humans, yes, they can be raped, but animals can also be raped. They are literally being raped. They're being sexually violated, aka rape. They are being killed for their flesh. They are being murdered. Why? Because it was planned. It was planned for them to be killed that way, and that's called murder. So no, I don't agree with that. I think you should continue using words that are accurately describing what's happening to the animals. No worries, Mia. Thank you for joining me, and thanks for editing your descriptions. Feel free to watch this back later if you can. We're just going to do a bit of Q&A and then wrap it up. Take care. The thing is, some people just don't care about choices. No matter how hard you try to explain the consequences of meat consumption, they will never change because they simply don't care. Of course, Jane. Our job is to speak up for the animals, tell people the truth, hold people accountable for their actions, and that's all we can do. If someone is not able to see that for what it is, if they're not ready to hear the truth, if they're not willing to take action, that's completely on them, and we can't do anything beyond that. So we do our work and the rest is up to that person. So really, it comes down to that individual and whether they're ready or not, and whether they're willing to take action to become vegan, to stop exploiting animals. That is completely, no matter how good of an orator you are, even if they throw 20 arguments at you and you debunk every one of them, if that person is not willing to look at their own behavior and take accountability for their own actions, they are not going to be convinced. They're just going to, even though they lost every argument to you, they're going to continue abusing animals. So it's all we can do as activists. All right. So that's it for the workshop. For the next 20 minutes, I'm happy to take some questions if you have any. If not, we can wrap this up. But the questions can be from non-vegans that have questions about veganism. It could be about activism, or it could be just coming from people that want to get active. Or if you have questions about AV, then I'm happy to respond to those questions. For people that are like constantly talking shit, saying you talk too much, stop talking, blah, 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 do you have a gun to your head? Do you have to be here watching this live stream for the last 50 minutes? Or how long have we been live for? Over an hour now. Do you really have a gun to your head? Or like, do you not have anything better to do? Is it okay to call somebody a hypocrite? Of course it is. I use that word all the time. It's actually my tagline on my YouTube. I end all the video descriptions with stop being a hypocrite, be vegan, because not just like walking around the street calling everyone a hypocrite, but if you're having a conversation with someone, it could be at a cube, it could be a friend, especially if someone says, I'm an animal lover, I love animals, or things like that, or oh yeah, I hate animal cruelty, I'm against it, but you're paying for it, so you are a hypocrite. If you're talking to a vegetarian and they say, I became a vegetarian for ethical reasons, but you're a hypocrite because you're still supporting the dairy and egg industries. So yeah, I recommend that you do use the word hypocrite. The word hypocrite is a good word to use when you're holding someone accountable. You're not shaming them, you're not being disrespectful, you're just saying it as it is, and you're holding that person accountable. They're saying one thing and they're doing another thing. So their words and their actions are not aligned, and that is the definition of a hypocrite. Well, okay, so I'm going to read this question out loud. I have a religious family. To them, murder only applies to humans, and it messes with their beliefs about God because they don't believe that he would allow something evil. Also, abuse to them only means causing them to suffer. since God allows us to kill and use animals. I'm not sure what religion your family practices, Summer, but no religion mandated killing animals and consuming their flesh or what comes out of their bodies. No religion mandated abusing and exploiting animals either. So people use the religion argument all the time, and your family, with their beliefs, what they're doing is they're trying to justify animal exploitation. So they don't let you use those words around them because obviously you're right. It is murder, it is rape, it is torture, and those words are not exclusive to humans. So again, I don't know what religion, but for each religion, you can go and look into it. You can do research. I've got tons of videos on my Instagram about religion and how you respond to religious arguments. So I recommend you go and check those out. There are very short clips, like 2 or 3 minutes, just to respond to the religion argument very quickly. If you haven't watched them, just go check it out. But it really comes down to, again, those people being ready and willing to hear the truth. Even if you were to swap the word murder or evil with something else, they still would not take you seriously because they're just not willing to look at it. If they are religious, if they do believe in God, the question would be, do you really believe that the God that is loving and compassionate and is all about peace and is kind would be okay with these innocent individuals suffering for humans? Because nowadays we don't need to kill them. We have supermarkets that can provide all the food that we need. Why are we doing it? Don't you think God would be much more impressed with you if you left these innocent animals alone? So you can use those religious arguments to talk to your family, but I highly recommend that you do not stop using these words because they are highly accurate. Last week's cube, I kept telling people they're animal abusers and hypocrites. I didn't get punched in the nose. They took it. They knew I was right. Yeah, well done, Laura. I have called people hypocrites, I don't know how many times, and I've never been punched in the nose either. You probably have seen that video though when I called that woman in. It was last year in New York. And I called her a hypocrite because she was saying that she needs fish. She was I don't know what she was. She was a vegetarian or a pescatarian. And she was saying all this stuff about animal cruelty. She was like, oh, it makes me sick. I can't stand it. And then when I called her a hypocrite, she did a whole 180 on me and she got really pissed off. And, but she didn't punch me. But then I ended up walking away from her. But the point is, I know many activists that use the word hypocrite at the right time, and it's highly effective. So I do recommend using it when it makes sense. Thanks for joining me, Jules. Take care. Thanks, Charlotte. Glad you made it. How do I see questions being asked? You can't see them unless you go on Facebook or AV's Instagram, because I've got 3 platforms that I'm on at the moment. So I'm reading questions from all these platforms. All right, any more questions? What is your opinion on vegan meat, such as vegan sausages? I believe that there's nothing wrong with eating vegan sausages, vegan bacons, vegan burgers, vegan cheese, vegan pizza, vegan ice cream, vegan beef, vegan chicken. I don't have an issue with it. I got a comment the other day on my YouTube, someone saying, well, if it's unethical to eat animal flesh, isn't it playing mind games if we do eat these replicates or these alternatives that are vegan? And I said, absolutely not, because it doesn't actually come from an animal. It doesn't mean that somebody got raped and tortured for it. Nobody died for it. So go for it. If you like it, go for it. I personally don't recommend eating too much junk food just because it's not healthy for you, but that's a different topic. From an ethical point of view, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Also, I don't think it makes us hypocrites for calling it vegan bacon, because the meat industry doesn't own the word bacon. They actually use words like bacon, leather, ham, beef, etc. to distract the consumer, to confuse people. They don't call it what it is, which is cow flesh, pig flesh, etc. So no, go for it. Use it as it is as well. Just call it vegan bacon. I fucking hate it when someone says fakin'. I hate it when they say mock meat or fake meat. The only problem I have is that chicken is literally an animal. And we refer to the flesh as chicken as well. So vegan chicken is just chicken, the name of an animal. Everything else is fine. I'm fine with. I wish that we could come up with a word for that, because we're literally calling it an animal. But that's just me. But yeah, I don't have a problem. Also with things like milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream. These are just words to describe a texture and a consistency. So the dairy industry doesn't own these words either. Plant-based milk like soy, almond, oat, coconut, all of that is milk. I hated that many companies now say on the packaging, instead of saying like almond milk, they say almond drink or something like that. I think in America it became like the law that they had to do this. I could be wrong, but yeah, they can't legally write almond milk or oat milk. It could be somewhere else in the word, I don't know, but that pisses me off. Or what's the other one, like dessert, they call something dessert instead of calling it like the dairy name, the product. I don't know if it's yogurt or cream or something like that, but no, you can call it vegan cream, it's soy cream, it's coconut cream, it's vegan ice cream, it's coconut yogurt, whatever it is. These industries do not own those words, and there is nothing wrong with consuming these products from an ethical point of view. The only concern I would have is from a health point of view. And if you don't care, I don't care. What are your opinions when vegans turn their dogs into vegans when by default they are an omnivore? Isn't that being a hypocrite? No, it's not actually. It's the only way that could work. If you have an animal at home and you feed them animal flesh, that makes you a hypocrite. You just said omnivore, meaning they can survive on a plant-based diet and a meat-based diet. So what does that tell you? If a dog can be healthy and happy and thrive on a plant-based diet as a vegan parent or guardian, you should definitely do that. You said turn them vegan, and I find that a bit funny because you're not like outreaching your dog and be like, so do you think animal cruelty is wrong? Are you going to go vegan? When it comes to the animals, they are actually just eating a plant-based diet, because veganism is an ethical stance that you take as a conscious human being so that you avoid animal cruelty. When you're talking about dogs and cats, you're literally just talking about their diet, so that's just plant-based. But yes, dogs, cats, they can be vegan and they should be vegan. You should do your research. You should not pay for thousands of animals to get tortured and murdered just so you can feed your precious dog or cat at home. That is the definition of speciesism and being a hypocrite. So about plant-based milk, Laura said they can still use milk, but the dairy industry hates it. I can imagine. I've heard about some lawsuits from the dairy industry towards plant-based companies. Doesn't that tell you something? Like, they must be feeling so threatened. That's why. Why would you take them to court? They're just calling it what it is. Yeah, exactly. They cannot control our language. They don't get to police us, and they don't own those words. So I hope the lawsuit gets nowhere. If you give a dog a broccoli and a steak, what do you think? I just need to correct you, Bilal. I hope I pronounced that right, or Bilal. We don't refer to animals as it because they're not inanimate objects. Especially as vegans, we have to be super mindful of our language that we use, because we are the ones that are setting the tone for non-vegans. So we don't refer to animals as it, just like we don't refer to our partner as it. We refer to them, if we don't know the sex, we just use they, you know. But if you do know that your dog is a girl, so you call her whatever her name is, but so he, she, or if we don't know, they or them. And that's really important. Also, the fact that we don't own these animals, we are their guardian, and they are our companion animals, they're not our pets. So in terms of giving them a broccoli or a steak, I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because you're the more you're the individual with a higher moral agency. You're the one who has the ability to tell from right and wrong. You're the one who's responsible for that dog or that cat. You're the one who probably rescued them from a pond. So you, since you adopted them, you brought them into your home, it's completely on you to do the right thing. It's kind of like having a baby and expecting that baby to do the right thing, but that baby doesn't have the ability to think like you, because they just can't. They physically are unable to do that. So if you left a little animal with a kid, they might actually kill that animal because they just don't understand. They don't process the information like you do as an adult. And that's why it's your responsibility to make sure that they do the right thing. So that's all I have to say. If you have a dog at home, it is your responsibility to make sure that they don't consume animal flesh or animal products, because that means that you're okay with the idea of thousands of other animals suffering for your one animal. Sure, maybe your dog will run away and catch a bird, and even if they don't eat the bird, they can kill the bird, and that's, you know, you have no part in that. That could happen as an accident. But that doesn't mean that you can justify paying for animal cruelty just because you have an animal at home. No, the dog doesn't have a choice, because you removed that choice from them by bringing them into your home. You didn't ask them if they wanted to go home with you, did you? They can't give us consent. So we can't just assume that they don't have a choice, because we have domesticated these animals, and it is our responsibility, now that we have done this, it is our responsibility to do the right thing by these animals. So just like you didn't ask for their written consent to adopt them, or if you were not even vegan and you purchased the dog, I guess that's even worse. There was no consent there at all. But yeah, you can't just suddenly try to use that to help your own argument against feeding your dog a plant-based diet. Apparently they're not allowed to say almond milk anymore because it's misleading. It makes no sense. How would you accidentally buy almond milk or any other vegan product? I know, that's the point. It's so stupid, and to me it looks like they're really threatened, but I don't know why. You're right. You wouldn't just grab an almond milk by mistake because it says milk on it. It's so obvious, the packaging. It's always, almost always has like a image of a cow on it. You know it comes from a cow. And plant-based milk always says on it what it is. Soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, whatever. Or it's got even photos of it. Yeah, you're not going to just make a mistake. And so what if you did? I guess they're just worried that they're going to lose money, obviously. I like that, Stacy. Yeah, my dog. I don't know if she still does it, but she used to love eating possum shit. What can I do? Sometimes before I get there, she would already be chewing on it. That's so gross. But you're so funny. Thank you. All right. Any more questions? What is your opinion on groups doing cubes but intentionally not using the name AV? So when we started AV in 2016, since the beginning, we said anyone is welcome to take our model, so the AV, the cube model, and the structure that we have, and they can just use it and they can turn it into their own activism event. We even, we have a manual and we've been working on it throughout all these years. So it's a very detailed campaign guide, and we have paid attention to all the details. We're happy for people to have access to that, learn from it, and just start their own group. We actually don't mind at all. The only thing that we have an issue with is using the name Cube of Truth. So AV does legally own the trademark, the logo, and the name Cube of Truth. So we don't care about taking people to court, but from an ethical point of view, it's just wrong to do that. But if you want to do something similar and call it whatever you want to call it, go for it. We don't mind at all. You want to do it with another mouse, you want to do it with bandanas, you want to do it without any mouse, you want to do a cube, you want to do a line, you want to do a circle, whatever you want to do, you're welcome to use that as a guide and just run your own cubes, as long as you don't call it cube or Cube of Truth or AV or anything like that. That would be my response. Do you think cats should be let outside on their own if it's likely to they will hunt once? Sorry, I just find that funny. I don't have any experience with cats. I really don't know. My understanding is that cats need to go out. Sometimes they go out and they come back. Dogs don't do that. And cats are so I don't know, they survive everything, seems like. So they can go for days and then they come back and they stay safe. I really don't know. I don't know what to say. I would say if this is how cats are supposed to be and they need to get out of the apartment or the house and come back, what they do outside of the house is out of your control. But I don't know. You guys who have cats, tell me how this works. Is this necessary for cats to leave the house, or I don't know. Yeah, Stacey, I used to do that. Well, Canal doesn't live with me anymore, as you know, if you know. But I used to do that. I used to put some pineapple, because she loves pineapples, like from a can, or pineapple juice on top of her food, and she would eat it. Um, but that's for eating her own poop, right? It would stop her maybe from eating her own poop, but then she used to eat possum poop, or maybe other dogs, cats, I don't know. It's really gross. Yeah, there's no AV chapter in Brisbane anymore because I guess they disagreed with AV, so they started their own thing. Well, I mean, we are always looking for organizers, so if anyone from Brisbane likes to step up and become an organizer, would love to help them get started. And I just use this to let everyone know, if there are no chapters in your area and you'd like to start a chapter, you just send us an email to join at, so JOIN at anonymousforthevoiceless.org. That's the email address you need to contact if you want to become an organizer, even if you want to become a co-organizer, and we'll help you get started basically. Oh, okay, so you guys are saying cats shouldn't be let out. I don't know. Yeah, like I have friends that have cats and the cats is always home. But then I've also seen other people that they let the cat out and the cat will come back after like days. And I really don't know how that works because I've never had that experience. It sounds to me that it would be dangerous, but at the same time cats are very like smart and they survive on their own, seems like. Little dogs would not survive. But yeah, that's interesting for me to learn. Interesting. All right, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Maybe I'll take one more question and that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. How to deal with non-vegan friends. I've got a few videos on that if you want to head to my Instagram. It's asal, ASAL __ AV. I literally put up 2 videos last week, I think, about non-vegans, how to deal with them, and when you're eating with non-vegans, how to deal with that. So I recommend you just go check that out. And I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys educating me on this whole thing about cats, because yeah, I don't know much about cats, so now I know that you shouldn't let your cat out. So therefore they won't be catching mouses or rats or mice or little birds or whatever it might be. All right, so if I eat a melatonin with gelatin that's already in the house, I'm not vegan anymore. Well, you can actually get melatonin that is completely vegan. I actually do have that. Sometimes if I struggle with sleeping, I take one. It's so effective. So I recommend you just get a vegan one, yes. Just don't use your non-vegan one. Just because it's been sitting in the house. Replace it with a vegan one. All right, before I wrap this up, I just want to quickly repeat what I announced at the start of this live stream in case you missed it. I do recommend that you watch it back if you join me later in the live stream, but just a quick announcement regarding cubes that are happening right now during this this time with the pandemic and the lockdown and the different lockdown rules, etc. In many places, they're not in lockdown anymore and they can hold cubes, but many countries have announced that it's now mandatory to wear masks. However, although it says that it is mandatory, looking at the law, it's not necessarily the case. So even if the law says, or the police has announced, or the government has announced that you have to wear a mask in a public area, otherwise you get a fine, it is your responsibility or your choice as an individual to do that or not. So I'm saying this to our organizers. If you are doing cubes at the moment, if somebody shows up at a cube and they're not wearing a mask and they don't want to or they can't for whatever reason, you don't have the right to turn them away from the cube. And as an individual volunteer, if you show up to the cube and you're not wearing a mask, just understand that it's your responsibility in case you get a fine from the police or anything else that might happen. It's not the responsibility of your organizer or AV. It's completely your thing to deal with. And if you're not wearing a mask, just make sure you do social distancing, so you're not getting too close to other volunteers, you're not getting too close to bystanders, and that's all I have to say. Now, with our organizers that want to discuss this a bit more, I'm going to share this video in the organizers group, and then maybe we can discuss it there. If there's anything you want to just talk to me directly about, or your regional organizer, use your support chat and we can discuss it further there as well. That's it for today. I'm going to wrap this up and I will see you next week. Take care, everyone. Much love.